Hey, thank you so much for clicking on the video. Before we get started, there is a major shift coming to the channel come the beginnings of May, but fret not, I will be very active and streaming regularly on Twitch. So if you have not created an account yet and followed me over on my Twitch channel, that is Dark Spider David for the username. So it's twitch.tv/DarkSpiderDavid. We're currently holding a goal of 50 followers, so if you can help out with that by checking out the channel, checking out past broadcasts that I've done, and seeing if you like what you see, hit the follow button. You won't regret it. See you then. Hello everyone, David here. So I got myself another headset review for you guys. This is going to be for the Astro A20 wireless gaming headset, specifically designed not only in partnership with, I hate to say it, Call of Duty, but also specifically designed to work for both the PS3, I was about to say the PSC, the PC, and the PlayStation 4. Now, funny little backstory behind this headset. I originally did not intend to really own it or review it for that matter, but it was meant to be for my girlfriend's brother. Got it for him, and it ended up not really being compatible for what he wanted to use it for. However, considering that I got it for a price that was, let's just say, different than it originally lists for, I thought to myself, oh, it doesn't work for you, huh? How about I take that off your hands? So here we have it, and now let's take a look at what you exactly get inside of the box. Okay, so first let's break down exactly what's inside of the box. So at the front you see A20, the Astros, the Call of Duty edition for the PlayStation 4 and PC, with an image of the headset itself and logos, etc. Just a little bit of artwork there with the logo, pretty much nothing there. On the back, a breakdown of the features, the contents, and of course that fucking Call of Duty logo that's right there. Anyways, at the top, the Astro logo with the little peg hook, and then a further breakdown of all the contents inside, etc., etc., as well as specifications as to what some of those things do. So let's open up the box, and also a little breakdown of Astro Gaming right there. We look inside, and then we get some really weird plastic. So premium packaging it is not. First thing we see, stop, you must stop now. Right there, little thing saying stop. Read the instructions. we're gamers. We don't read the instructions. We just jump in. Do not return your gear to the store. Read this first. So just because it's not functioning properly, don't make us give you your money back. We got the USB cable, 2 micro USB cables. Moving on here, we got the headset itself. All right, you got the transmitter with the Call of Duty logo right there. And then you also got the optical cord. Here is the Astro A20s. And I'm going to set aside the accessories and just talk about the headset for a quick second, and really comment on the construction of it. So as you can see, it's got a little bit of an unorthodox construction, at least for a portion of it, not all the way throughout, because it's designed to be rigid. It's not designed to be as free-flowing and as lenient, I guess you could say, as some of the other headsets that I've worn up until this point. This is meant to be very durable and very long-lasting, especially since they know that because they partnered up with Call of Duty to bring you this headset, they know that an awful lot of kids, mainly kids that are probably a little too young to be playing Call of Duty, are going to be getting these headsets because they just have that aesthetic that appeals to them just a little easier. So they consciously designed it so that it's made to take a little bit of a beating, and that involves being really rigid with the plastic construction, the framing, and just the overall way of how everything kind of holds together, which is very resilient. I honestly do feel like it's actually rather tough. In some parts it does feel a little cheap around the plastic areas of this blue copper looking area of the headsets that hold the actual cups themselves, but at least I'm glad that the actual foamy cups on the inside that wrap around your ears are pretty comfortable and also very warm, especially during the winter season that we find ourselves in right now. It also comes with a little rubbery type of sponge here on the headband that is meant to be easy on your head as much as possible. Now, here is actually where I came into one of the hindrances of this headset, is that it's meant to be pretty rigid. And on top of that, as you can see, it's got a little bit of a design that is a little unorthodox. Like I mentioned before, it doesn't have that big of an arc. It's actually much more square than some traditional headsets. So you got the two cups right here, and then the headband just going kind of all the way horizontal. Well, not all the way horizontal, but obviously, but it's going to be much more angled than some of the other headsets that you've seen me review. And this did cause a little bit of a strain on my head. I would constantly feel that I don't want to call it pain, but just that uncomfortable feeling of when you got something on your head that is just normally not there, and your head just hasn't adapted to it. So because of that, it starts to feel like that uncomfortable painish type feeling that I'm like, okay, I got to move this thing along, otherwise it's really going to be bothersome, especially when I'm gaming for a good amount of time. They did as much as they could with this little rubbery comfy cushion right here at the top, and as well as the little foamy fabric felt cups on the inside that do feel nice on the ears. But again, everything, the whole skeleton of the headset is just a little bit too robust for my taste. And I also feel like I might have had a stroke of luck wearing this headset in the first place, because I feel like other folks who are probably going to have different shaped heads and faces and ears and bone structure might be even more so uncomfortable with this headset than I was actually believing, because obviously it's not going to be on cup swivels because of the rigidity of the frame. It's not going to swivel on the cups, and it's not really going to feel too easy on the side, especially for you glasswares like myself. It's not going to be that's not going to be the priority for the headset, basically. On top of that, the cups themselves, as you can see, they barely move within the frame, so there's not much adjustability there. The only adjustability that you can really find in this headset is actually here at the top, where you can take the whole left and right frame, I guess you could say, not just the cups, but the entire section here, and just kind of shove it upwards and downwards from the top band. And that's really about it. And to put it a little bit into perspective, the entire time that I used this headset, during the entire week that I used it for, it was at the farthest, most extended form that it could be, like that. And therefore, it still caused a little bit of an issue with the headband being pressing down here at the top of my cranium that started to cause a little bit of stress pain. And that was one of the issues that I came across while wearing it. The other one was not so much while wearing it, but more so while taking it off and putting it back on, is that rotating it to this side here, all on the right cup here, you have pretty much the majority of your functions. You got the power button, and then you also got the volume button. The volume button, I would constantly, I don't know how I would do this, but I would constantly hit it with either my finger or my shoulder when putting it on and off, and that would cause the volume to go up or down, mostly down. Most of the time it would go down whenever I would slap it on. Like, it was one volume when I took it off, and then when I put it back on, it went down, and I'm like, was there an issue with the connectability? Then it turns out that I just simply moved the little knob right here, the little dial, and that was primarily the issue. I don't remember coming across this sort of issue with the other headsets, and that's mainly because those little volume dials, they're put inside of the wire, and because this is meant to be a wireless headset, that dial needs to go on the headset itself. So maybe that could be an issue that I could face in other wireless headsets, but for the time being, that's one that I did perceive here with the A20s. While we're on the subject of those buttons, let's go ahead and talk about the features of the headset specifically that is meant to take advantage of its full wireless capacity. Obviously, you got the power button because you need to turn the headphones individually since they are wireless, but right below it, you'll see another button that has a few bars on it. This is actually your equalizer button, and it's primarily got 3 presets. The instructions don't really do a good job at letting you know what those presets are. You just got to listen for yourself. The only thing that I can do is describe that one of them is supposed to be pretty much the normal one that it starts off at. When you press it, you hear 2 little beeps, and you come across one that's a bit cuffier. It's supposed to be like a little bit more acoustic, I imagine. You press the button a second time, you'll hear 3 beeps, and this is the much more bassy preset of the equalizer that's meant to emphasize the bass and the booms and all those different sounds that you hear throughout gameplay. Personally, that's the one that I preferred, and I always rotated it to the 3 but it's rather subtle, the differences that you hear between those three. And then we got that volume dial, which is down here below, which is most of the time intuitive, except for when I bump it when I take off the headset. Right on the top and the bottom parts of that dial are two separate buttons. One of them is called voice and the other one's called game. And what they're primarily there for is for you to be able to balance the voice audio from the mic versus that of the game. Personally, I think it's kind of shitty. I really did not feel like I was really toggling that much between the game audio and the voice audio that I was able to hear when I had the headset on. On PC, I obviously didn't have really much gameplay except maybe some YouTube videos, and I didn't see the functionality working there too great. And of course, primarily on the PlayStation 4 that I was using it on, I would hear my voice remain the same volume, but the gameplay audio would actually go down all the way down. It wouldn't really balance. It's just like, oh, the game audio, just turn it down. Like, it's like, well, that's not really balancing. That's just turning off the gameplay audio. You know, there's a significant difference. So to me personally, I found those two buttons to be kind of superfluous, but that really depends on how serious you are when it comes to online gameplay and how much you're willing to chat with those other folks. And I guess for formality's sake, I will mention that you do have a micro USB plug right there at the bottom of that right cup, which is what you're going to be using to charge your headset, which I guess will be a perfect segue for the accessories. First of all, we do have the audio receiver right here because no wireless headset is complete without one. Of course, unless you do have Bluetooth functionality, in which case, there you go. This does not have Bluetooth, so you do require the Astro Call of Duty branded audio transmitter. Admittingly, feels a little cheap, very, very light, very just kind of flimsy, in my opinion. It doesn't have any kind of premium quality whatsoever. When you rotate it to the back, you'll see you have a couple of plugs. One of them is just your basic USB 2.0, micro USB, an optical plug-in, and then a little switch, no pun intended, because now it's making me want to play the Switch. I still have Pokemon. Piranha Plant came out. Fuck. But you have a Switch that is able to toggle between PlayStation 4 and PC, the two primary systems that this is going to be friendly with. So that's where my potential brother-in-law kind of came into an issue because he mainly wanted it to be used on mobile. Yeah, that was definitely going to be an issue. And before I go further, let's comment on some of those cables that it came with, which honestly is not that many. Two of them are actually exactly the exact same cable, and that's a basic micro USB cable. The only difference though is that one of them, which is the main one that I use, is only about 1.5 feet long. The other one is about 3 feet long. And it makes sense for them to throw in two micro USB cables with varying lengths because one of them could be used to be plugged into the headset for when you're charging, and then the other one that is the shortest one could be the one closest to your PlayStation 4 or your PC. That's the one that's actually going to be plugging this in so it has power, therefore being able to transmit those audio feeds to give you the audio. Makes sense. Cool. All right. Not much more that I can say there, except that we do have a third cable here, and it is, of course, an optical cable. This is honestly my first time kind of messing around with an optical cable. I've always heard about them. I always knew what they were for, to give you the most uncompressed audio you can possibly imagine. Personally, I know I'm not the biggest audiophile. I'm more of a cinephile, so to speak. Big into movies, big into visuals. I plugged this in, and I did in fact tested it out on the PlayStation 4 by hooking it up with the transmitter to the back of the PlayStation 4 with the optical, and unless I'm just talking out of my ass, the actual difference that I felt, or at least heard, in the audio when it came to compressed with the basic USB transmission versus the optical here, I honestly didn't really notice that big of a difference. I really didn't. I mean, maybe a couple of sound effects here and there were a little crispier, but other than that, this is not necessarily a big priority for me personally. I know that that's going to be potentially unpopular opinion, but I just think that for the time being, unless I got myself a very intricate mix for a particular game or movie, optical, it's not exactly a necessity. So now, real quick, I do want to talk about the wireless functionality of the headset. Once you do plug in your receiver to either your PlayStation 4 or your PC, It's actually rather intuitive and rather simple to really get the headset going. You press the power button. When I opened it up, it already had a little bit of a charge going. It actually took me another 2 or 3 days before I finally started hearing the little beep saying, hey, you got to charge the headset. So I was like, okay, very, very resourceful with its energy use and very easy to really hook up to the PlayStation 4 or furthermore, the PC. I felt like the PC, I was going to run into some bigger troubles because with the PlayStation 4, it's just a matter of plugging into the USB at the front and you're set. With the PC, I was expecting to download some drivers and maybe install certain software and making sure that I'm using the right program, etc. Just plug it in, and then before you know it, all of the audio that I was playing on a YouTube video or even testing it out on a couple of games, even hearing certain chats going on Discord, went straight to the headset. Not much more that I can really say. I don't know if it's Discord certified in the sense that you can actually toggle certain commands and stuff like that directly from the headset. My guess is probably going to be no because I didn't get that far, but at least taking all of the audio that comes out of your source, in this case just two, PlayStation 4 and PC, it just sends it directly to the headset, and before you know it, you're hearing what you got, which I guess I'll use as my segue towards actual sound quality, which is arguably the hardest thing to really talk about in a review because it's all subjective. My personal opinion for the A20s was that the audio is actually kind of close to the HyperX Cloud 2s in terms of being crisp, being clear, very immersive. It almost didn't sound very night and day between those two headsets. So when I was bouncing back and forth between two of them, I thought, all right, quality-wise for the audio, having the right drivers, having the right amount of bass, treble, all of that good stuff, and making sure that you're able to hear everything that is very important about the game that you're playing, it's all right there. The only thing that I noticed, the little distinction that I was able to make, is that when I was on the PlayStation home menu, and I would hear certain sound effects whenever you select the game or whenever you select the little sub menu and you hear the little clink, clink, like that. The little static, the background static you sometimes hear when like that little. I heard it way more obvious in the A20s than I ever have in the HyperX. I don't remember hearing something like that in the HyperX. I would just hear the sound effect and then that's it. With these, it almost sounded like I can hear the actual WAV file or MP3 file that was used for those sound effects in the PlayStation 4 home menu. And also, I heard that with a couple of moments in those really isolated sounds on PC, whether it be with a YouTube video or just something miscellaneous. It would kind of come through, so that's something to kind of keep in mind when it comes to that sound quality. And just because you got yourself a wireless gaming headset doesn't mean that you have a wireless headset. There's a big difference. That means that you cannot step, I would probably say, a good 20 to 25 feet away from your source before the audio starts canceling out. Trust me, I tested it out. And I was expecting it. Don't get me wrong, I was not expecting to have a cool headset I can listen to music around the house while having my source over here in the other room. Wasn't expecting that, but I just wanted to test it out out of curiosity. And I got as far as my actual main room where I sleep at, which is about a good 20 to 25 feet away, and that's where the audio started to cut out. And also, Astro makes it abundantly clear that this is not a headset for streaming. Because as far as I can tell, can't really stream with this sort of thing. You connect it to a PlayStation 4, all of the audio is going to go to that USB plug at the front. It's not going to be going to your Elgato or let alone your HDMI cable. So therefore, using a source like Elgato or whatever type of capture card you'll be using, it's not going to be receiving your audio. So when you click it in, there's not going to be anything. So you could try hooking it up to the computer, but then you risk there being a lag between the audio and then your gameplay. So in my opinion, this is not the best headset to be wearing when doing live streams or any kind of gameplay footage capture. Anything that has to do with content creation is not really intuitive for this. This is primarily so that you can go online and hear little kids tell how they're going to copulate with your mother. Speaking of which, how clear are you going to be hearing those remarks through the Astro A20's microphone? Yes, I kept you waiting this long on purpose because I'm trolling. I am seriously trolling. And one thing that I think is kind of cool is that, yes, you do have the microphone right here. You flip it down, and it's made out of rubbery material that's meant to be elastic, so you can kind of move it out of the way, flip it up like backwards like that, so on and so forth. You kind of get the gist of it. And what I do find pretty neat, and I knew that I've had I can't remember if I've had headsets like this before, but I knew that this feature is not exactly new, but messing around with it, I thought, okay, this is actually kind of neat. And that's the automatic mute function when you flip up the microphone to its original state like this, and then flipping it down to simply just turning it on. There's no button, there's no little tab that you have to constantly remind yourself to flip. It's just a matter of flipping up and flipping down. It's much easier, in my opinion, to remember something like that than to flip a button over here on your little cord right here. And that's actually one of the benefits you get out of this being wireless, is that the headset could just be flipped down. It's unmuted. We can hear you. Flip it up. We can't hear you. Retain your privacy. So I guess I shall now take my cables, my receiver, hook them up to my PC, slap this bad boy on, and go ahead and give you guys a little quick test of the Astro A20's microphone. Papa, can you hear me? Can you? Papa? Alright, so here's my test, the long-awaited test for the microphone on the Astro A20s. So here's something rather interesting. This is actually my second take doing the mic test. And the reason for it being that I love the fact that this is wireless when it comes to this functionality. And it's very intuitive and easy to really hook up to my computer here, because all I did was just plug the receiver into the computer, switch it to the PC, on the little switch, and then my computer was able to recognize it as both a playback and recording device. And like I mentioned before, it has that whole functionality of being really simple to just mute and unmute by, versus now being able to hear me by switching it on, flipping it down. So that's cool, and that's neat. It gets me a little giddy knowing that functionalities like these exist. What I don't appreciate is a little bit of the duping that's going on, because I can hear myself through the headset. Generally happens whenever you have a gaming headset with the microphone hooked up to the PC. You can generally hear yourself, whether it be just on its own, or using Discord, or using something, or playing online. And what I find kind of interesting, though, is that from you can tell from this test, the audio quality doesn't exactly sound all that different from any other gaming headset. At least in the test that you're probably hearing right now, because what I'm hearing right now in this headset sounds actually a little bit above average. It actually surprised me an awful lot, and that's what happened in the first take, and also a couple of other times that I've heard myself when going through this. But I gotta be honest, I never played it back. I played that first take back, though, and that's where I came to the realization that I'm like, maybe the audio quality I'm hearing right now, that I was kind of revering as being really good and really, crisp and clear. My guess is that that's what you hear when you're playing online. Again, going back to the emphasis that I mentioned about the A20s, is primarily for online, not so much for streaming or content creation. Because when right now I'm recording with Audacity with this microphone, and I love the simplicity of it. I just don't like that when I play that audio quality back, despite being at a cool 48,000 hertz. Which is a very decent, rate for the audio quality. It doesn't sound like it. It really doesn't sound like it. And maybe it's a compatibility issue with Audacity or any other kind of recording software. What I do know, though, is that the quality that I'm hearing from my voice inside of the headset, very different from the one that I'm actually going to be playing back here in the video, and the one that you're probably hearing right now. And chances are that what you record after the fact is what you get in this quality, and then what I'm hearing right now is probably what you're gonna expect from using the microphone over online gameplay. So, with that said, now let's jump back into the very transparent and honest quality of the Samsung G-Track USB and finish off the review. Alright, we are back to just using the Samsung audio. And that really about does it for my review of the Astro A20 gaming headset. A gaming headset that had particular qualities about it that did kind of turn my head around on certain things about it, whether it be the wireless functionality, the microphone, being able to mute and unmute by flipping it. So little quality of life things like that, I think, are actually rather cool. And I'm definitely going to put into a perspective later on when I do decide to upgrade to a different headset from my HyperX's. with that said, I kind of spoiled already my opinion on the Astros, is that my HyperX Cloud 2s are still going to be my gaming headsets of choice. For the actual price you can find it at right now at the store, whether it be Best Buy, Amazon, or any other type of retailer that carries them, at an average of about, $140, $150, you're primarily paying for that Call of Duty logo and also the wireless functionality, and making sure that you got your kids something that's gonna be a little tough to break, because I'll give it to them that yes, it's very rigid, but with rigidity, is that a word? Also comes with uncomfortability. And finding somebody with a head shape like that, yeah, it's a little tone deaf for Astro in my opinion. So I'm going to be giving the Astro A20's Call of Duty edition a 7 out of 10. It's a very decent headset, just not really worth the price. I feel like if you get it at a sale for just an even 100, then that's where your money's going towards that wireless functionality, that if you absolutely need it, then go for it. Otherwise, if you want to be able to get the best of both worlds, whether it be comfortability and also having wireless functionality and also getting the best aesthetic for your buck, I would look at something else. Preferably Logitech. Logitech's got the G933s. That's one that I've been eyeing for a good while. So maybe in the future, we'll nab one of those. For the time being, though, if you guys enjoyed this review, hit the like button, hit the share button. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch.tv, where I do live streams for games, as well as like little talk sessions where I just talk to my audience and really communicate with them. It's all Dark Spider David all the time. Not really all the time. I have to go to bed and eat eventually. But you can follow me on those social media platforms at Dark Spider David. You'll see the username and the little logos there at the end. Until next time, guys, catch you all later. The best way I can put it is that pretty much the entire 2/3 or so of Season 2 is just comprised of 14 episodes as opposed to the Season 1 13, is comprised of an overarching plot called Neogenic Nightmare, if I'm not mistaken. And trust me, when you're finished with this plot, you're going to be so sick of two particular words: neogenic and recombinator.
Neogenics.
Neogenic device?
Neogenics is involved.
Neogenic recombinator.
Neogenic treatments.
Part of the recombinator. Neogenic treatments.
Recombinator.
The recombinator.